Not the Footy Show.
Here you go.
Yeah.
You didn't think I was really going to give you a suit, did you?
What, you're giving him the suit?
That's right. And it's Armani.
Armani? Hey, Armani, Jerry.
Yes,
Yeah.
I heard.
Come on, try it on.
No, it's okay.
No, come on, I want to see how it fits.
All right.
There you go.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, boy, look at that.
Yeah.
That looks great, huh? I can't believe you're giving him this.
I don't even want anything for it.
Be the ball.
G'day everyone, welcome to episode 232 of Not the Footy Show. I'm Warrick Nicolson. That is Robb Cox. We're back on the YouTube, back on your podcasting. It's been a week off. Sorry about that, everybody. We got the ball rolling so well with one in a row, and yeah, not anymore. Round 6 is in the books, Cocksmith, but we're doing this podcast on a Wednesday, so round 7 is bearing down on us. It's the weekend of which Anzac Day and your birthday does take into account. Mate, the big news as I bring you into this show is the Chad got paid, mate. He got paid deluxe by the Cowboys. Right off the bat, are you happy if you're a Cronulla fan?
Well, I know some Cronulla fans that are happy, but then there's two types of Cronulla fans: the ones that love Chad Townsend, the ones that love to hate Chad Townsend. I think. I think he's been a pretty solid player. I don't know if he's worth $700 or $800 a year, but at the same time, there's some halfbacks running around at the moment that make more than that and may not be producing. On paper, it's probably a pretty good buy for the Cowboys. The old bull, young bull thing. If they get their daily double in Dearden as well, to go there, it's a pretty radical move. Bringing in two new halves into a team.
And two halfbacks, two out and out halfbacks.
Yeah. Well, they say, from what I'm reading, they're going to turn Dearden into a 6 and let Townsend run the team at 7. It could be vice versa. I mean, let's be honest. Halves will play one side of the ruck each, and one will organise and one be dominant and one not. Doesn't matter the number on their back. But like I say, it's a pretty big move because they've got Drinkwater up there who's shown promise in the last few rounds.
He can play make. He can genuinely play make, that boy.
Absolutely. And it looks like they're going to cut him free. And I reckon that whoever gets him will probably be laughing, because he's got pedigree. We've spoken about him before. He's an ex-Australian schoolboy player. He kept Nathan Cleary out of the 7 jersey. Nathan was wearing the 6 whilst Drinkwater was wearing the 7 in the Australian schoolboys. He's got some talent, can play, and he's a Central Coast boy. He may want to, Newcastle might look at him.
Play for the Bears.
Might look at him. Maybe the Bears. But yeah, look, Chad Townsend will be going to the Cowboys. Dearden is yet to be determined. So maybe Drinkwater will get another year there with Townsend, although I don't know if that will do him much good. And I'm not sure if that fits into Payton's grand plan up there.
Sorry, Ming the Merciless. Thank you. Please refer to him as his correct title.
Is it Ming or
Ming? Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Don't make me edit these things. Todd Payton has come out on the Cowboys website, and these are his comments about the Chad. Chad is a premiership winner on the field and a proven professional off it. The level of professionalism he brings off the field is what we were most impressed with when doing our research on the Chad. He may not have said the Chad, but he said Chad. And we look forward to him mentoring our young playing group upon his arrival in 2022. We have made no secret of our intentions to secure a senior half after we lost our captain, Michael Morgan, to retirement. We were looking for a composed, organising halfback who can steer the team around the park, and I believe we have found out in the Chad. Final line. He is a gifted kicker of the football, except when he's taking shots at goal. He tackles well, except when he's actually tackling. And there's a strong voice on the field where we know he sledges, which is 3 areas that we highlighted when entering the market for a half. I asked you the question, how do Cronulla fans feel about this? I know a few, and they are all doing handstands. They cannot believe that when he had a player option for 2022, he's got out of that. He's off the books for the Sharkies for next year. He could even be on the bench this weekend because there's no guarantees that he's in the starting lineup. Now Shaun Johnson is back. I think it's a great move for Cronulla because it frees up a lot of money for them. They signed him on a big deal when he came back from the Warriors, and he won the premiership, got a nice friendly deal after that. So it's a great move for Cronulla. I'll speak also why it is even better for him next year. But the Chad to Townsville, we spoke early about 2 or 3 episodes ago about the Tigers and how they used the big 3 of the 4 that they let go, how they used their money, the Moses, Tedesco and Woods money, and they signed Reynolds and Mumbai and the like. Cowboys have just got off the contract of a $1 million a year, Michael Morgan, and they've invested 2/3 to 3/4 of that on Chad Townsend. I don't get it. I go, you can improve a lot of your team with that kind of coin. And I don't rate Townsend in the top half of the halfbacks in rugby league. Dearden has a lot of potential, but he is a halfback. He's not a 5'8". He's not big enough, I don't think, to play it. Well, I know they don't traditionally play the 5'8" role we sort of grew up on, but I just don't understand this move. I don't think it makes you better this year, next year, in 3 years' time. I don't know if they've got a gun 7 coming through the system up there. I messaged you the other day when this story broke, and I said, are the Cowboys doing their best to get relegated? I know you can't get relegated in the NRL, but I just don't see how this move makes them any better. And it's a really strange one because, like, Townsend complimenting other players, yeah, he can play a good role for you, but the main guy in Townsville, which is what he's going to have to be,
well, before we drop this topic, though, mate, let's discuss who were the other options for the Cowboys. We know Reynolds. We know he was, but we also know that he probably wanted $900 to $1 million a year. So there's all of Morgan's money. At this rate, they'll probably get Townsend and Dearden for that $1 million. Okay?
You reckon Dearden only goes for 300?
300 is what they're saying. He's on less than that at the Broncos.
Yeah.
So I'm no Townsend fan, but I'm just looking at, you get Reynolds, okay, he comes with a little asterisk next to his name, and that is to the tune of he's carrying injuries.
No, his hamstrings are horrendous.
Well, not just little nigglers, things that stop him from training. So, how many years has he got left? Townsend is a bit fitter. He's been fairly resilient for the Sharks over the years. He's played a lot more games at the Sharks in the last 3 years than Moylan has.
He's also 30.
Or Johnson has. Yeah,
I
get that.
Townsend's 30. He's no spring chicken.
So how old's Reynolds?
I think he's 31.
Yep. So
let me just
what I'm saying here is Reynolds. We know Reynolds was on the horizon. Maybe who else?
Reynolds is 30.
Okay, so they're both 30. One wants probably 300 grand more than the other one, and doesn't want just a 1 year deal either. He wants the 3 years, so he wants $3 million. Yeah,
but Townsend's on 3, so it's still a lot of cash. A lot of
$3 million for 4 years.
No, it's $3 million over. He's got a $2 million deal over 3.
$2 million over 3.
So you're saving $1 million over those 3 years theoretically.
Yeah.
But
so look, I'm not, and Reynolds may well play until he's 35. He's played a lot of games in his time as well. He's pretty game wise. He's been pretty resilient. But who else was there that was? Someone mentioned the other day that Mitchell Moses may have been. Yeah. I think
he's
Mitchell
27
Moses
this year. I think.
Me and Mitchell Moses. I'm not a fan, but I think he would have been a better buy at 700 or 800 grand a year.
Absolutely.
Than both of those other blokes. And I think it's something that Mitchell Moses probably would have been beneficial to him to go up there, get out of his comfort zone, go to a town that he doesn't know, and own a team. Because at the moment, with Parramatta, he played all right last weekend. He did play well. But let's not forget he's run into the finals for the last 2 years. They've both been very ordinary. So he needs a fresh start, I think, Mitchell Moses. Who else was there that they were looking at?
Well, that was the big one, those two. And then the other player off contract, and this sort of goes into, I guess, where I want to finish this part of the conversation is, Shaun Johnson's off contract.
Mm.
I pay Shaun Johnson every cent of the contract you're giving Chad Townsend to go to the Cowboys.
After an Achilles tendon
I don't
rupture?
have now. He's in one leg. He's better than him. He's a game changer, Shaun Johnson. You saw what he did to the Sharks last year when he played most of the season. They made the finals. I do feel for poor old Johnny Morris, who's sitting up in a corner somewhere going, my halves next year might have been Adam Reynolds and Shaun Johnson. I mean, he'll just be crying himself to sleep tonight. And Craig Fitzgibbon's just going, I don't have to deal with the Chad.
Look, we discussed this last week, didn't we? Or last time we spoke about what the Sharks did to poor old. Did we speak about this on the pod?
We referenced it. It happened like it was confirmed the next day that it went through. But yeah, we'd said that he'd been treated pretty poorly.
Are we going to speak about that during this pod at all?
Oh, look, I think it's a couple of weeks old now. We know that the players weren't happy about it, but have a crack.
Let me just say that what the Sharks did was absolutely disgusting to John Morris. It was gutless and it was disgusting the way they treated that man, who not only, he bled for that club. And to have him there while they were going through their salary cap problems, not made by him, but by another coach, and then to flick him just as they were coming out of that hellhole was absolutely gutless and disgusting. And I just, I really feel for him, and I hope that he gets another NRL gig, and I hope that every time he plays against Cronulla, whoever
what are you fiddling with, Cocksmith? You're making noise, mate.
I hope whoever he coaches, when they play Cronulla, I hope they smash them every time. Just to give John a little bit of, get back and get square. I don't like that. I don't like the way it happened.
It was classless. It was classless.
Absolutely classless. And they lied point blank to his face.
Yeah.
That, you're the front runner.
On the Monday. And then they sacked him on Tuesday.
Nobody else. And then they sacked him. Whoever said that should grow a set of because you don't have any. You seriously don't have any. Seriously. No, it's true, mate.
No,
it's
pathetic. And the other part of it, and obviously, I've worked, my history is back in social media and the like. The Sharkies haven't even said goodbye to him on social. I don't understand that.
What did he do so bad? What was his crime?
It's embarrassing.
Got to the finals.
Like I know that the person who runs their accounts probably isn't even remotely up on the totem pole, but thank you, John Morris. Is that hard to say that in one little post? Just move on, and they haven't done anything.
What they've virtually said is they haven't said thank you. They've said something else that a lot of people say sanctimoniously when you want to say thank you to someone that screwed you over, and it begins with an F and ends in a U, and that's what they've done to him. Honestly.
It does my head in. I wanted to just wrap up this part. I'm really big. If Cronulla walk away with this, with Adam Reynolds and Shaun Johnson as their half,
that's a win. It's a win.
It's a massive win. That's the best half they've ever had by such a distance. I mean, Barry Russell and Michael Speechley.
If Johnson stays fit, yes, it is.
And if Reynolds stays, hey. We talk about how teams, and this is the next segment, the impact buys of 2021, but these are the things you've got to do to lift yourself. You've got to go on in some ways. You can't get away with going just, this guy's safe pretty good. You can't be safe. You've got to have a crack. Willie Mason, I'll leave the final word to. Yep.
But hold on, before they say, the one more thing that the Cronulla need to do to get out of the hole that they're in right now is offload Moylan.
And Fafita.
Well, look, I like Moylan as a player, I really do, but he's just so injury prone. If you could have a 95% fit Moylan for your season, you'd be sweet. But
I actually think he's still their best option in the one. Will Kennedy's had a really good start of the year, but Moylan makes that team, really make that team sing. You have him playing as the third banana behind Reynolds and Johnson. I like that combo.
If he stays fit, mate, I've got no issue.
Yeah. The last final word goes to the great Willie Mason. Willie Mason on Twitter. He was reacting to the news about Johnson. The Chad signing with the Cowboys, or allegedly signing with the Cowboys a couple of days ago. He said, "What a great time to be an average or little above average halfback! ! ! ! Secure the bag, boys. Well done." And he didn't mention the Chad, but he's got him straight between the eyes right there. Well done, Willie, who also declared that Jason Taumalolo was having a great game for the Cowboys on Sunday. That is the first segment, everybody. We'll be back after the break to talk about the impact players of 2021 that your team signed. You're on Not the Footy Show, episode 232.
Not the Footy Show.
Don't cut that thing out, mate. No, seriously. That's not... I could have called him...
Okay, it's episode 232. Warrick, Nicolson, Robb, Cox of Not the Footy Show. Got a couple of questions that I wanted to get out of the way early on because it leads to the impact buyers of 2021. But this one comes from an Anthony Brand of Canberra. He asks, does Latrell Mitchell buy his suits at Lowe's? I don't know if you've seen it. I'll put it up on the YouTube version, but there's this olive kind of, I guess they think it's myrtle. It looks olive. Suits that all the South players have got this year, and I'm going to put it out there, Cocksmith. It's not aesthetically pleasing. Am I right?
Well, from the photo that I've seen of Latrell, unfortunately at the judiciary last night, it doesn't seem to fit him all that well. It looks like it's a size and a half too big. And when you sent it to me with a bit of a joke this morning, I said maybe that was his pre-season suit. Because we know some players carry a little bit around in pre-season.
Big 4 weeks ahead of Latrell. A lot of stuff he can get done in those 4 weeks. We
could probably get that suit altered, that's for sure.
All right, that's the first question off the rank. We're going to the impact players. This is something you wanted to bring up when we were talking about run sheet a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Signings for 2021. We know there's been a whole bunch. I've done a little bit of research. I've got all the name signings, all the new players. So there's a slight difference. So players who may have only played half a game or whatever last year, but signed with that club who didn't really play any matches, or a rookie. Yeah. You've probably got 3 in mind. I got 3 that I think are at the top of the list. I just want to get away. You got 4?
All forwards, I said.
All forwards. And I've got a couple that I think we need to acknowledge that were potentially really impactful, but because of injury or other things, hasn't really worked out for them. The Warriors went big. AFB, BMM, and who was the other player they got? Ewan Aitken. Ewan Aitken's played 1 game. Fanua Blake's played 3.5, and Mccullough's played 6. They went really big here, particularly AFB, and he's going to miss 2 to 3 months. It's the risk you take, I guess, and this is sort of leading into who have worked out, but this is the buyer beware situation, really, isn't it? When you're going for a big boy, you think it's going to turn around your season or your club.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate, because you look at Fanua Blake and he changes every team that he's in for the better. He's their go forward. He's their bulldozer. But again, you don't buy the players thinking, that they're going to break down a quarter of the way through the season. You hope and pray that the big money that you're spending on them gets them through the season with as least games as possible out of the game. I feel a little bit bad for the Warriors, but at the same time, I still think that they're a team on the rise. They got new people there in coaching staff and management staff and players, and they look a different team this year. They really do.
They'll regret that loss to Manly 2 weeks ago. That was a bad loss, but a really good victory against the Dragons the other day. So that's one example of buying big and I guess not getting a huge value out of your big names. The other one that comes to mind is Canterbury, but we knew that they were going to struggle. I don't think anyone sat there and went, top 8 is in their future. They're none from 6, and their big off-season signings were Corey Allen, Nick Kotrick, and Kyle Flanagan. Where do you rate that at the moment?
Look, we discussed this a little bit last time. I think their best signing in those 3 is Kotrick, and I think he's just being hamstrung by where he is. He needs to play centre or fullback.
The worst spot he could be in. Right wing is like the worst spot he could ever been picked in. Trent Barrett, I don't know what's going on his mind.
Can you answer something for me? Has Addo signed for them?
Yeah.
Has he signed?
Signed
for 2021.
Well, let's see if he actually gets there. 2022, yeah.
2022, sorry. So the way it seems to me at the moment is they've got Nick Meaney that they bought as a fullback. Corey Allen they bought as a fullback. Kotrick they bought as a centre fullback. And
BWZ, who's playing fullback putting up
And
great numbers, but not making the team better.
They're going to have five fullbacks, and you know, it seems to me that Trent Barrett still
Will
hasn't.
Hopoate, what position does he play his best football at?
Well, he's a better fullback than he is a centre.
Yeah.
But it seems to me that Trent Barrett, on another subject slightly, hasn't given up on his rating of the Panthers. Let me tell you something. I believe that if Barrett doesn't work out this time as a head coach, you'll never see him again as an assistant coach, because they won't trust him. He's now trying to get what's his name?
He's linked to Naden and he's linked to Capewell.
Naden and Capewell.
But that's the papers. Remember, they link in.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, I get it. But where there's a little bit of smoke, there's usually fire. You know, he's signed.
Well, it's the agents saying, "We hope these guys give us an offer." That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah, but he's signed Burton.
That's a good sign. I like that signing.
Well, it's a good signing, you know, but they need a couple of forwards. They need
to place. Like, I watched that game on Sunday, and they were playing the Cowboys, who are now 2 wins in a row. Congratulations, but they didn't play anything special.
No.
But the Bulldogs just play safe football, and it wasn't until at the end of the game when they were down to 12 men, they started playing a little bit of rugby league. And hey, look, they came back and scored 3 tries with 12 men. I mean,
you would think Barrett was such a good player and a good ad-lib player as well, that you would think that he would bring that to the team.
Every halftime message seems to be, complete your sets and we'll, cut the errors out. And if you're a player, I've made this point many times. If you've come off a season that all you've been taught is completions and you won 2 games, a new coach comes in and says the same thing. How are you going to react to that? How are you going to go, oh, well, that'll change that's not going to change your mentality. It doesn't matter what sport you're playing. If the message is the same as what's come before and you've seen no results from that, I don't know. I look at who they have in their team. They've got some attacking players.
Yeah.
But the 3 that they've signed, 2 are out of position. One isn't the number one. He can't be the number one playmaker. That's Flanagan.
No. He's another one that needs a really experienced 6 or 7 next to him. Maybe, how about this? Breaking news: Benji Marshall with the Bulldogs next year.
Should have been this year. Let's go to the teams that actually have signed some impact players. I've got 3 that I think are making a significant difference to their teams, but I'd love to hear yours first.
Well, my big one, mate, is the bloke that came from the Warriors to Parramatta, Papali'i.
Isaiah Papali'i. Yeah.
He is killing it.
What?
And they got him.
Has he had the Captain America serum or something? Because
I don't know.
Wow.
But he is a different player to what he was at the Warriors. He wasn't bad at the Warriors, but on that left edge, mate. I mean,
when have you seen Josh Papali'i run over? When's the last time you saw that happen?
It usually doesn't. But do you bring Madison back, or do you just let him sit on the sideline for his $700,000 a year? I don't know. I shouldn't be so flippant about that. I know he was suffering from ongoing concussion injury. Thanks to Felice Kafusi. But Papali'i he's going great guns.
He's been tremendous.
Did you have him in your list?
Yeah, he's number 3 on my list.
Well, who's your number 2?
Number 2 is Andrew Mccullough. He has been gigantic for St George Illawarra. He plays every minute. He barely misses a tackle. He gives good service. And I know that they haven't beaten anybody of note apart from, I guess you'd say, Parramatta. But he's made that team really solid in the middle. And to underscore that, you look at the numbers and I guess, in theory, the performance of Cam McInnes last year, and you go, he couldn't have played any better. Well, McCullough's come in and made that team better. He has.
Yeah.
And he is number 2 on my list.
McCullough has always been one of those players. He's very much a tradesman, isn't he? He's not flash. He doesn't pull Dally M points all the time, but he just keeps doing the business. And I think it was a pretty astute signing, especially given Cam McInnes's, knee injury.
Well, they got him after McInnes got injured. That's the impressive part from Griffin's point of view.
Yeah, I can't believe that Brisbane let him go, to be perfectly honest.
Jake Turpin, apparently, better hooker.
Yeah, not at all. But yeah, I know. I think I know who you're going to say for one. And is he from the Titans?
He is.
Yeah, I will bracket him and another one, and I don't know which one you're going to say, but I'm fairly sure you're going to say Mr. Fafita. I'll bracket him and Tino together because I think Tino's a very special player.
He is. He's imposing in the way that Fafita might be imposing when he gets the ball, all right, and you've got to get him the ball. But Tino's imposing whether he's tackling or running.
Oh yeah.
You always see. I mean, he's about 7'40", but you just see him on the field and you go, I wouldn't run at him. No, I'm not going to run at him. No. And he's also willing to put his hand up for the ball. Now, his numbers aren't as impressive as Fafita's, and Fafita I think has 5 tries in the first 6 games or something. But Fafita also didn't make a big difference last week when they got run over by who did they play last week?
Manly.
Run over by Manly. By Manly.
Yeah, unbelievable.
I don't know, they're my 1A, 1B because I just think we had this. We've drawn out. I was big on the fact that the Gold Coast had to do something. Now, are they going to be a premiership contender? Look, losses like that to Manly suggest not. But as a club, can they challenge for the top 8 with this roster? Absolutely. It's a bad loss to a Manly team that didn't only had 1 win. But I don't know. I just go, that's what you need in a team. You need something like that. And they've gone out and opened the purse string. So as far as I'm concerned, getting both of those guys, and they might be paying them close to 1.8 to $2 million for 2 players. But alternative is you pay that to Bryce Cartwright and 3 other nip-nuts.
Yeah, look, I still think the Warriors, the Titans are a halfback away from being able to threaten for a competition and a good, strong halfback that's already established. I don't know if Taylor and Fogarty are your men for that job, but I think they've definitely gone in the right direction with probably the two best back row forwards in Australia at the moment, in Fafita and I can't say Tino's surname, so I won't.
Sumilali, I think it is. My nephew nails it every time.
I think you screwed it up then. Don't even attempt it, mate.
Trying to do my best. Doing my best. There are some other names that are actually technically signings or new names at clubs who barely played last year. Jaden Brayley at the Knights, I think played half a game last year. He's been fantastic for the Knights.
Yep.
Harry Grant is actually a new signing for Melbourne.
Yeah. Harry's a special player, mate. Very special.
Very, very special. And the other name that I guess I wanted to give, another one I guess is new, is Sam Walker at the Roosters. But the other one that I want, there's two unheralded ones that I think deserve a bit of credit. And one's Daniel Alvaro at the Dragons, who's giving excellent minutes off the bench for them. Just really makes a mistake, makes his tackles, just plays a real plug role for them. And the other one is, even though he's having 3 weeks out, quite rightly for a high tackle on Tom Dearden, but Morowski, who has one of the best try-scoring records that there is in rugby league. Let me just bring it up. It's insane. But he has been excellent for the Panthers. They won't really miss him, though, because Dylan Edwards is probably coming back this week, and that means Crichton will go into the centres. But let me just give you the stats on Paul Morowski in first grade. You're going to be blown away.
Before you tell me that, just while you're reading that, did you also notice who was listed in the 20 or 21 this week for Panthers?
Happy Coruscant.
Happy Coruscant is listed.
They're doing all right for a team that didn't have their first choice hooker and fullback, aren't they?
Well, I wonder if they'll play him this week. Anyway, he's in jersey 20, I think. So he's on an extended bench. So I guess he's going to see how he goes.
Paul Morowski has played 25 games of first grade.
Yep.
He has scored 17 tries.
It's impressive.
Now, the reason that is impressive, but at the same time, I'll temper it with this. There is one person at the foot of the mountains doing handstands right now about the fact that he's just been suspended for 3 games. And do you know who that is?
Matt Burton?
Charlie Staines. Because he does not see the ball.
Charlie. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Morowski does not pass the ball. He gets the ball and he cuts back in on his right foot every time, pretty much. It's a big reason why he's got that many tries in first grade. But Charlie Staines will be going. I might actually have a centre who might pass it to me this week. The next 3 weeks.
He's a young bloke, isn't he, Morowski, who's played for 4 clubs.
He Roosters in 2018, Tigers in 2019, Melbourne last year, and then Penrith this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's not all he's doing, by the way. I mean, he signed with the Tigers, who then swapped him out for Harry Grant, quite an astute swapping.
Yeah.
But he also did good stuff for Melbourne.
He has a 72% win ratio in first grade.
Yeah.
That's all right. Anybody else that comes to mind for
you? Well, it's not Josh Maguire.
Good to see not really, mate. Changed his style. He got away with an elbow to the head of Josh Curran in the game on the weekend.
Yeah,
throwing the ball up. Didn't get even mentioned. Good to see that they're not watching that closely.
Well, see, it's hard to claim someone's dirty when they've only got one eye, because he doesn't know where he's thrown.
He's not responsible for anything that happens on his left side. James Tamau, Dane Laurie, Joe Offengowie at the Tigers. Laurie's been okay, but the wins and losses aren't really there to back up anything more than that. Aidan Tolman, serviceable at the Sharks. The other name that comes to mind, Ryan James, has been a breath of fresh air just to see him back playing rugby league at Canberra. And the other name, who I think's been okay, he hasn't been tremendous, but he's been okay, and that's Tyson Frizzell at the Knights. The effort is definitely there.
I haven't seen many Knights games, mate, so I can't. But of course, he's going to be all right. I mean, he was Saints' best player last year.
Yeah. So if there's any others that you have out there, everybody who you think deserves a mention, Jack Bird's been going okay for the Dragons as well. He's still a bit rocks and diamonds, but that's what you get with the Birdman. If you got who your most impactful player as a new signing is for 2021, let us know via Twitter or Instagram or Facebook if you'd like to. So that's getting paid. The ones that already got paid, as we mentioned earlier, old mate Chad Townsend, $2 million for 3 years. How good is life for the Chad? We're back after the break. We've gone way too long. We haven't even talked about last round here on Not the Footy Show.
Not the Footy Show.
That was my nephew. He messaged me and said, "Stop saying you go too long." So I said, "I'll never mention it again."
Ever. Until every episode from now on.
Okay, it's episode 232 here on Not the Footy Show. You've been listening for a while. Get ready to listen for a while yet. Foul play, Cox Smith. Phil Gould does not like it. He doesn't think that foul play is really that bad of a thing. And he doesn't like the fact that the NRL suspends players for foul play. Thoughts?
Yeah. Well, we discussed this off air earlier on about Gus's what's it called? His take on foul play and suspensions and HIAs and things like that. Now, as you know, Gus is from a different era, from the 70s, where you could run out on the field on a Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m. with a full set of teeth and go home with 4 or 5 missing, or a broken nose, or a bit of your ear bitten off, or So he's quite old school when it comes to that. He doesn't think, and I don't have a direct line to Gus, but I'm just watching his interviews and watching what he says on 100% Footy and listening to his podcast.
Which is still listen to it every week. Everybody, do not miss that. Don't miss that show.
He doesn't think that suspending players really does much good as far as rehabilitation goes of that kind of player.
I don't get that, but I'll let you.
Yeah, look, I disagree with that a little bit. I think it does. I think suspending players does make them think twice. But I think fining them along with the suspension is probably the ultimate. Or maybe making it in a contract that, if a player's on, $30,000 a week or $20,000 a week, whatever it might be, for every week he sits out, that comes out of their grant.
No pay. Basically, no play, no pay.
NRL grant.
Injury is one thing, but being suspended. So Latrell Mitchell's missing about $600,000 this next month.
Well, he's on, what's he on, 900 a year?
Something like that. Yeah.
So let's call it 20 grand a week or whatever it is, and so he'd miss 80 grand. Is it 4 weeks he's out or 5?
4. He ended up getting 4.
Okay. So they would just take that out of the, if the Rabbitohs want to pay him, so be it. But they would fine the club.
Do you think that's ever going to happen though? Because I would
No.
imagine that there's some sort of legal element that you could
No.
challenge the judiciary
I don't-
rubbing you out and costing you money.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever happen.
It couldn't happen, could it?
No, I don't think it'll ever happen because, like you just say, then the clubs will say, "Oh, you rubbed one of our players out for X amount of days, and that's cost us this." And it's
Well, every player's going to go
fine.
to the judiciary and challenge.
Yeah.
Every player.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Gus does have a point about his HIA. His
So
take on
this
the
is the
HIA.
bit that I struggled to sit through because
This is the bit I agree with.
I couldn't get through him talking about players. This is on 100% Footy. They put on their Twitter or whatever. I couldn't get through them talking about how players shouldn't be suspended for foul play. I just go, well, then what do you suspend them for?
Okay.
It doesn't make any sense. The HIA one, take it away.
Well, look, just recapping on the suspension thing, they never got to a result on that. It was just Gus's opinion, and you've got to give the man his opinion.
Absolutely.
I may not necessarily agree with it. I think foul play should be dealt with. I don't think. Just quickly on last week's games, I really don't think that Hetherington's is worth 4 or 5 weeks. I don't think Latrell's is worth 4. But anyway, so be it. Radley got off. Did he not?
Mm-hmm.
And it may have helped that Melbourne admitted that Munster was playing games, and it didn't hurt him at all.
We'll get to Melbourne in a sec.
So with the HIA thing, I actually agree with Gus here, and his take on it is he hates lawyers and doctors being involved in sport.
Yeah.
Because, and rightfully in my mind, he said, if we let them control the sport, there will be no sport. Why don't we just say...
He said that about 50 times in the pod the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, no more sport. Let's just walk away and be done with it. And I agree with that. I agree with it. Every player knows the risk. Okay. I think the game has done its due diligence and has made it less unsafe, if that makes sense. They've made the game safer by banning some acts in the game, like the shoulder charge and the high tackles and whatever they can. But it's a collision sport. We can argue all we want that this should be cleaned up and that should be cleaned up, but before you know it, it'll be turned into touch football and no one will be interested. I go back to when the NRL had a really weird idea of what playing touch football games before NRL games, and no one gave a rat's about it, mate. And the reason is because anyone can play touch football. Anyone can play touch football.
Yeah, what happened to the NRL touch premiership that was here for about 3 minutes?
The thing that makes touch football and NRL football different is the collision, the impact, the tackle, the heavy-handedness. People like to watch that. You can say whatever you like about players coming back in 20 years' time and suing the NRL, but if they get a watertight waiver on their contract, there will be no coming back. And I think that's what they need to do. They need to force the young guys who want to play NRL and girls, who I'm not talking about park football, I'm talking about NRL football, the top of the line club football. If you want to play, sign the waiver. Understand here.
There has to be something in there already, because I don't think.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there is.
Yeah, I haven't seen a case, and there's plenty of players, I'm sure, that are struggling at the moment. Gus, actually, to round up on him, he has said, if I was offered the chance to go back and play again today, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
I would, yeah. Yeah,
and he's got plenty of ailments, as he says, from his.
His back is no good. But look, I totally agree with Gus on that. I don't necessarily agree on his take on not banning players or suspending players. I think players should be punished for foul acts, because if you didn't, then it'd be mayhem. It'd be anarchy.
It kind of speaks to that situation with the Panthers and the Canberra players a couple of weeks back on the sideline. If you're not going to suspend players, then that's just going to get even worse. Because, for a start, I don't know how the fact they've taken so-called the punch out of the game allows that kind of thing to happen, where it's intimidation by knowing you can't get punched. And I don't like that. That's
no.
Ricky.
But we spoke about this. Yeah. Remember we spoke about this once before on the pod about when they first brought that rule in. The very next Origin game after the punch from Gallen on Nate Miles, the very next Origin game, I remember seeing Jonathan Thurston slap Bo Scott in the face at marker, bang, whacked him in the face, and just looked at him. And knowing that you can't get square on a bloke that's just slapped you in the face has got to be so frustrating for a big enforcer style player. So yeah, they've eliminated one problem virtually, but created another problem, and that other problem is the melee, the pushing, the shoving, the slapping, the crap talking, the pushing. It's gotten to a point now, and I love Penrith, but what they did there the other night, that's nothing new, by the way, dragging an opposition player into your celebration.
No. Because Will Chambers did that for a while, didn't he?
Yeah, and also that para player, what was his name? The back rower that got done with drink driving, Tongan or Samoan.
Oh, yeah, Kenny Edwards. That was the one. I was thinking of Kenny Edwards.
Edwards. I think he grabbed...
He grabbed Chambers, I think, from memory.
Was it Chambers?
I think it was, something like that. Yeah.
And brought him into the huddle, and they're all bouncing up and down. And I think it's quite funny, but it's a really easy way to start a brawl. And the big loser out of that was I think it was the trainer from
Canberra trainer for putting his hand on Crichton's shoulder or someone's shoulder.
$10,000.
He got 10, and the other players got nothing. So
yeah,
work it out. Can we just quickly shift to the HIA loophole that has already been discovered by, Melbourne? Can't believe that. In regards to Munster and Pappenhausen, and then the Cowboys did it on Sunday with Val Holmes.
You got to take your hat off to Bellamy for this.
It took him a week.
Yep.
All right, I can use a free interchange, basically. We discussed this as we came on to record, and do you honestly believe that the NRL had any idea this loophole existed before it got enacted by Melbourne? Well,
look, the NRL has some pretty smart dudes there. Like, really, I mean, we like to jest and muck around, but they do. They've got some pretty high-powered brains at the NRL. But if they miss this one, there must have been a most horrendous oversight, because
I'm sure they did. There's like this one. If you'd seen this as an option, which is basically allows you to replace a player using the player coming off after he gets foul played, and there'd be a bin involved, I just go, you've opened Pandora's box, which hopefully they've already closed. Now, I haven't seen anything written in stone that they've stopped this from happening, but I don't understand how, if you're gonna make policy on the run, which is what they've done here, and then let the clubs, which is what happened, change your policy before it's even used, which was the whole idea around who the 18th man was. Don't be shocked, NRL, but make the amendment quickly, because it can't keep happening.
Here's the weird thing, though, mate. I was under the impression that if a player falls in the way that Munster fell, that there is no, and it doesn't matter if it's foul play or not, that there's no going back.
No,
you've got to come off for 15 minutes. He was
not
off for
evidently
27 seconds.
And
so
Harry Grant,
they need to close
after the collision with Tedesco, set up a try and scored one after he had his little.
Well, just Nathan Cleary the other night.
Correct.
Copped one I think from.
He got run over by someone, and he got up and did the old hop skip back, and
and he was all right.
But there was 16 minutes left in the game. There was no way he was coming off.
No, and look, in a way, I agree with it. In a way, I agree. If the player is all right, obviously Harry Grant was all right. He set up a try, and then 7 minutes later they took him off for an HIA,
a free interchange.
So here's the thing: if you're going to make the play, if you're going to make a rule, okay, and if you're going to make the player come off, you can't do it after 7 minutes. He's just played for 7 minutes. You may as well sweep that under the rug and say, okay, we missed that one. The player has to come off at the very next break in play, right? He has to come off. If the rule is...
It doesn't require them to even make the trainer or the spotter can tell the referee to stop play. The NRL is not powerless in this situation. That's the thing that really grinds my gears. It's, are you willing to call him out and say, no, he needs to come off for a test? And at the moment, they're not willing to do that in every instance. And
So my take on it is this, and it's very similar to Gus's. Surprise, surprise. I don't think a player should be forced to come from the field. Okay, unless he's had a sleep. You know, if a player's, having played a very low level of football myself, I know sometimes you'll get a knock on the head and you'll stumble for 5 seconds and then you're good. You know, must be something about your brain rattling around in your head. That's what happens in collision sports.
Likely, yeah.
You know, but it doesn't mean you're concussed. You know, I got knocked out on the football field a couple of times and I didn't have a concussion.
Yeah.
I was completely fine afterwards. I didn't have ongoing headaches or dizziness or anything. I was asleep. I didn't, on one occasion I played on in the next half. The next time it happened, I didn't. But a player stumbles out after getting a 120 kilo man run at him. He stumbles out of a tackle with maybe a little bit of dizziness and runs back into the line. And 20 seconds later, he's all right. Why should he come off the field?
And that,
and I know,
that's a good point.
And I know they're going to say duty of care,
but duty of care and consistency of enforcing duty of care go hand in hand. They have to go hand in hand.
Well, that's right. And if the rule is going to be, if you stumble out of a tackle or a collision, you must come off for 15 minutes. It's a set prescribed 15-minute, you're off. Okay.
Well, does it need, I guess my
I don't think you need 15 minutes.
I don't think 15 minutes is the number. Five is your number. And if you're still not right at that stage, if you still got 15 to make the decision whether you come back from the game, I'm all right with that. Because players aren't going off for the full 15. They're coming back on a lot earlier sometimes. The 15 is a number that says you have to be back by the end of 15.
By that 15. Okay. So my take is you must leave the field for at least 5 and up to 15. Because if it's just for 27 seconds, you can't do an HIA assessment in 27 seconds. You're not going to know that, once the guy cools down a little bit and catches his breath, that's when you can really talk to somebody. But at the end of the day, I still think that the players know what they're in for. If the player gets knocked out and doesn't know what day it is, right, then he has to come off. But if a player is just a little bit fatigued and a little bit stumbly, then play on. Sign your waiver, play on. And I just think we're getting too litigious in this, or worried about litigation. We're worrying about a whole lot of stuff that these players aren't even worried about. It's their health. It's almost like worrying about a bloke who's riding around on a motorbike without a helmet. You want to ride with no helmet, mate? Go for it. It's up to you. I mean, I know it's illegal, it's against the law, but it's only illegal and against the law to save people from suing people and suing the government and stuff like that. The government says you must wear a helmet. The NRL says you must come off the field. It's not there to protect anyone in an office. It's there to protect the person that they're going to, that could get hurt. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm here.
So yeah, that's the HIA thing though with Melbourne or with any club that plays games like they did the other night. The NRL has to close the loophole or say to the players, if you do that again, or say to the clubs, you do that again, and there's going to be $150,000 fine.
Well, Canterbury got a 20K fine for the Lachlan Lewis incident on Good Friday that I missed. I didn't even get any fanfare. Melbourne, will they get anything? I highly doubt it, but
No.
Yeah, we shall see what happens. Cocksmith, we do have one more topic that I'm happy to push to another episode. I'm going to leave it up to you. Do we wrap up the show now, or do we go into one?
What's
more
the topic? Tease me.
Just the impact of certain players on the win-loss records of clubs. I'm happy to push it to another week if you want to.
No, let's do it now. Let's blast through it.
Okay, so we'll be back after the break on episode 232 to talk about the impact old Tommy Trbojevic has on Manly and whether we've seen this before in the past.
Not the Footy show.
Have we got any other questions for any of these hats that follow us, mate?
No.
What the is going on? Where's the questions, you? Oh man, I love question time. I used to love question time at school. It was the best, especially when the ladies start asking the questions.
Not the Footy show.
Bonus stage.
Okay, final segment, bonus segment time here on the Footy show. We didn't really have a bonus segment last time out, but this time I've got that little intro from Street Fighter. So happy days. Tommy Trbojevic was back, Cocksmith on the weekend, and Manly were up 36-0. Handy.
Big time.
We know how good he is. We know how bad his hamstrings are. We know how fast the bloke from Manly Corso apparently is. But if he's faster than Tommy, I'm very impressed because that was an outstanding display. A couple of stats on old Thomas Trbojevic. Would you believe this is his 7th season in first grade?
No, I wouldn't actually. I do remember when he made his debut, but I didn't think it was 7 years ago. How many games has he played in 7 years?
He's played 97. So do your math. I don't know what that equates to.
It's about 15.
But in the first year, he scored 8 tries in 9 games, then 10 tries in 23, 12 in 23, 9 in 22, 5 in 12, 4 in 7, and then 1 in 1. Basically, the winning record the last 3 years with Tommy, he won 10 of his 12 games in 2019 when they finished 5th.
10.
Last year, he only played 7. They won 4, and then they won from 1 this year. The record before that's not anything special, but I guess the impact we've seen in these last 3 years on that club is remarkable. I want you to sort of head your mind back into, I guess, the recent past. Can you think of any other players? I don't think Tommy, Paul Gallen said it on 100% Footy. You can't believe anybody has had more of an impact on the team. And apart from you, of course, Gal. But players from the past, mate, that they just had to be on the field for that team, not just to win, but to contend. Can you think of any that come to mind?
Well, I don't know the stats. See, I'm not a stat man. I don't have the Rugby League project open, but
Right there.
But I would have thought that Andrew Johns would be one, for both Newcastle and New South Wales. Who else would be a really important player? It's not Ben Hunt.
Hey, come on.
Probably JT, mate. Jonathan Thurston.
Well, JT, he didn't get injured a lot, so kind of.
What about when he's away for Origin and stuff, though?
But it's more how they go at the end of the year, really, because they're going to get through Origin at some point. It's a harder stat to track, that's for sure.
Well, I'm sure you've got a conga line of players.
No, I've only got one more. I had Joey, of course. The 02 and 03 seasons are the ones that just injury and maybe that's all. Is what cost him those 2 years in the Knights, going sort of back to back or even back to back to back after their 2001. We'll go into him in a sec. The other one is Richard Stewart, as you like to call him.
Yes.
There are 2 seasons in particular where, or the one that is, I reference it all the time, but 1993, when he's lying on the ground with his...
Who was his replacement?
Trevor Shodel. Well, it should have been. It was Steve Stone.
Steve Stone.
Tremendous Steve Stone. But he did his ankle against Parramatta in the second last round. Canberra on track for the minor premiership or to contend for the minor premiership. He's got his ankle at right angles, and Canberra didn't win a game the rest of the season that year. Then a couple of years later, in 96, he only played 2 games, and Canberra ended up finishing 6th, but weren't ever really a contender after that. He is as important, I think, as Joey in regards to the Raiders through that period. There's not a lot of other players that come springing straight to mind because realistically, unless it's a halfback or a hooker, you can replace most of the other players at some point. The Joey one is interesting because he's had injuries, but he's always seemed to play through them. That was the impressive thing about Joey. But then towards the back end of his career,
they caught up with him.
It sort of caught up with him. He only played 11 games in the 97 title run. And Leo Dinova doesn't get the credit I think that he deserves that got Newcastle there, positioning at the end of the year. But we know what Joey did in that grand final.
What was his last year, mate? What was Joey's last year?
2007, he only played 2 games.
Right. Okay.
But the run for him after 2001, so he played 21 games in 2001. They made the GF. They won the GF. They beat the unbeatable Parramatta Eels. The next year, he played 22 games, and Newcastle were going tremendous. They finished second on the ladder. But then they got bounced in straight sets against St. George and then the Roosters. I think Joey hurt himself in that. Joey hurt himself in the Dragons game, and they got knocked out by the Roosters. I think that was that was 02, and then 03 I think was the neck issue. Same thing. They had a fantastic regular season, but then he got injured, and they ended up finishing 7th. They were going gangbusters there for a while. He ended up getting hurt. They missed out on doing anything in those 2 years. Then the injuries actually started hitting him mid-season. 04, he played 3 games. I think that's the one where he did his ACL. 05, I think he got knocked out by Sonny Bill, if I recall.
I remember that one.
And interesting looking back at the stats on that one. So at the start of the year, they lost their first, however many games, Newcastle. They lost a lot of matches. They lost their first 15 games or 14 games. They lost Joey after round 6. But when Joey came back, they won 8 of their last 11. They still finished last because it's a bit of an anomaly that that season ladder, actually, 2005, because the Knights won 8 games and they finished last. They only missed the finals by 4 wins. So, but Joey, the impact that he had, 06, he turns around and he has one of the greatest seasons I've ever seen for Newcastle, and they finished.
How many did
4th.
he play? How many games?
He played 22 games in 06.
Unbelievable.
And then he got injured at the start of 2007, and that was it. I think he's the number one in regards to, you can be competitive, but he's the one that wins your competitions. And at the end of the day, he only won 2 of the competitions. And I look at 02 and 03 especially as those 2 years that, if he's healthy, they come through. Is there anybody else that, as I've been sort of filling time there in regards to Ricky and Joey, that you think of? Because it's not a lady, like it's not the easiest thing just to identify, saying, I can't win without this guy.
What about Cameron Smith?
Well, he played the whole time.
I know, but I'm talking about games that he didn't play in, I wonder what he's, I know he didn't have many games away, but I wonder.
They don't offer this stat on, as great as Rugby League project is, they haven't got a thing that says this is how many games they won without him. But Cam Smith debuted in 02 and he played 2 games. That's what happens. From that point on,
he played at least
seasons,
like
how many
18 or 19 games.
How many seasons from 2003 to 2020 did he play of over 20 games a season?
I probably reckon about 15 seasons.
All but one, and that was 2020. Every other season from 03 to 19 has at least 20 games.
Because he was hardly ever suspended.
Except for a grand final in 2008.
Grand final, which they lost. And I still maintain, I know they lost 42 or 44-0, but I still maintain they win if he plays.
Yeah.
That grand final.
His winning record overall is 72.09%.
It's pretty impressive for 400 games.
But he just didn't get injured long term. He just didn't. So that's where this discussion or this question is hard to answer, because you've got to have it in your mind who wasn't there for the end of the year. Because that's when this question really kicks in. I don't really give a stuff about regular season victories when it comes to it. As good as Tommy is,
you do every week with Canberra.
When do we win? We've lost 2 in a row. It's all over. Even Ricky said, Ricky not happy at the end of the, last week. More to come. Gee, have you beaten again? Can you even tell me? We spoke about this last podcast. Who is?
Where are you? Where are you on the ladder? Where are you on the ladder?
I don't know.
You won't have to look far from the bottom.
We're ninth, genius. Would you
Where are
believe
we?
we're only 2 points off your mighty Saints?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who you play this week?
Oh, Cowboys. If we don't win this, issue.
do we
But
got?
if you've got anybody out there, everyone who you think of and you go, that player needed to play, let us know. I'm sure it was Josh McCrone at Canberra there for a couple of years. I've saved a segment with a Josh McCrone reference. There you go. That's how it's done.
You got to leave poor old Josh McCrone alone.
The
mate.
solution, mate.
The
He hasn't
solution.
been. Our current solution is Sam Williams, who's doing his best work interviewing players after New South Wales Cup games. So go, Sammy
Well,
W.
I tell you, I don't know if George Williams is doing all that much better at the moment.
That was the most
To be
interesting
fair.
thing about the old Ricky press conference is that the fall guy at this stage appears to be one Jay Tapane, and everybody else pretty much stayed in the
Yeah.
17.
Well, you've got to have a fall guy, and maybe hopefully Joe was just a little bit injured or something.
Oh, there was a winger as well, Paul Bailey Simonson, HIA.
always
not
got
considered.
to get a winger.
Got to get a winger.
Always gotta-
Straight between the eyes. Anyway, Cocksmith, that's episode 232.
One of
I
our
think it's
best
gone all
ever.
right. Oh, we did get some good feedback from the last one, so I do appreciate those people who
We
reached out
did?
to us. We did.
Hmm.
According to my 15-year-old nephew, we didn't ramble on too long.
Do I have to start looking for souvenirs for people again that are going to
Well-
give us a nice?
Again, you found them. You can take the souvenir. You just can't give the souvenir out. That seems to be your biggest.
Well, we're going to need a lot of feedback for me to start.
Oh no,
stealing
it's not that hard,
stealing
everybody. It really isn't that hard. Grant Croxford just comes through with the goods every time. Cracking episode.
Grant's a
This is-
legend.
Um,
Grant's a legend. I like him.
he is.
Where does Grant live? Is he in Australia?
He's
or
in
England?
the UK.
Is he? Okay.
Um,
Maybe we should start doing a Not the Footy show for the UK Super League.
I'd have to
Yes,
start
well-
watching it though.
Do we really?
True.
Don't watch this.
We don't watch the NRL. I watched the least amount of footy this last weekend as I have in a while actually. I really
Me
enjoyed
too.
our dinner on
I
Sunday
was
night.
in
By the way,
Newcastle. I'm sorry about that, mate. Just so everyone who is actually still listening, who gives a rat's, we were meant to have a dinner on Sunday night. My son races go-karts these days, and he was racing up in Newcastle, and I got my manager at the NRL gave me Sunday off, which was really nice of him. Chucky, thank you. And I went to Newcastle. And I left my phone beside my bed on the charger, and it was honestly like having my right leg cut off because I'm on my phone all the time, all day,
Yep.
looking at Instagram, whatever it is. I didn't have my phone, and so I forgot all about our dinner until I got home and I saw the salty messages.
oh, it's salty.
Well, they were a bit salty. They were a bit salty, but mine, I would have
8
been
o'clock.
exactly the
Are
same.
we still on for dinner tonight, Cocksmith? Question.
I would have been exactly the same as
Hang
you.
on, well, you would have been much worse than I was.
I probably would have sworn.
I would have been coughing left, right, and centre. Here we go. I'm going to read it out for everybody. I'm going to go back. Actually, we've talked a couple of times.
If they're not asleep, by
8:44 a.m. Are we still on for dinner, mate?
8:44 a.m. Yep.
12:25 p.m. Forrest Gump waving on the ship. Hello, have you got this? No response. 3:09 p.m. Next time then, mate. It's a finger
Thumbs
up.
up. My daughter was home, and she did say she heard my phone going a few times. When I got home, there was 17 messages, of which 3 or 4 were yours, and there were other messages from other people.
That's all
So
right.
I apologise for that. That's the first time I've been anywhere.
No,
probably
mate,
the
it's not a
last
bad
5
thing.
years.
Let's be honest. It really isn't a bad thing to have no phone for a
well,
little while.
I'm actually looking at my on my back porch now, and the bullet smoker is there, and it's ready. And just so you know, if you care, if you give a rat's, this Sunday I have got a game at 1:45 p.m.
Yeah.
Which means I'll be home by 4:30. We can do something then if you want, and you can come around and celebrate my birthday with me.
So now I can't say no, people, can I? So he just. I knew it was coming. I knew the dates. I was aligned, and I'm just going. I've got no recourse here.
It's up to you, mate. Your call.
Sounds good, buddy. Sounds good. Look, you can join us as well because we probably do a pod if we end up catching up on Sunday anyway.
Yeah.
You can join us on
They
Sunday.
can't come to my house.
Oh,
The 20 people that listen to this podcast can't come to my house. Okay.
it's a bit more than that, mate. I'm very encouraged by the numbers. I just
That's good. Yeah, I know.
don't understand why no one actually says, yeah, we kind of like this show. Well, I understand it because I probably wouldn't do it either. But
Just leave us a bloody review, will you? Please. It's easy. Just say how much you love us. Sign 'em.
why? How hard is it
That's
to
right.
lie?
Mickey Mouse. You know, I love you guys. Mickey Mouse from
I mean,
Strathfield.
take the defences of the judiciary and last night. Everything they said was a lie, pretty much. He didn't have a closed hand. He didn't have this. Comparing tackles from 2017. I mean, it's just lie, lie, lie. And if they take your lie, you get off. And if you don't, you can go buy a new Armani suit, a brand new Armani suit from Banya.
Hey, I give you a brand new Armani suit, and you won't even buy me a meal. All right, fine. Get the soap.
Something for reference.
Via Russell Crowe. You know, Russell organises all of those suits.
Well, that's what I wondered. I would have thought Russell
he does.
might have been across those a little bit more. I don't know.
It's not a low suit. It's a good suit. It just doesn't fit him really well.
It just didn't
It's
work.
got
With it.
Probably like you. You lost all your weight, and then Latrell loses the weight in January, February, March, right? Or January, February, but he's probably fits that suit in December, November, December.
Yeah, actually, my nephew sent me a photo from a couple of years ago of us at the footy. He goes, "Oh, who is this guy?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't really want to see how I looked 18 months ago." Yes.
I've got one from Townsville I'll send you later. There's one from Townsville that was taken of you, me and Chucky. And I think your mate Reese might have been in it as well.
I'm not too bad there. That's 2015. I'm not too bad. That one, it's the end of 2016 when life was getting interesting. Balloon.
Who
These
cares?
things happen.
Feels
Anyway,
good.
12.5 Ks yesterday, mate. It was great fun.
Good on you, mate.
Ran through Mrs. Macquarie's chair and the Botanical Gardens. It's really nice.
I slept in yesterday. Slept in until about 12:45.
That was about the time I took off.
Getting over the weekend.
Very good. Anyway, we've rambled on right at the end.
Yep. Let's not bore these people
honestly,
to death.
As boring as the rest of the show is, that last 5 minutes, easily the worst of the season so far. We'll speak to you next time on Not the Footy Show. Facebook.com/NRL podcast. At Not the Footy Show is up to, let me have a look, 35 followers, up by 6 since last week. I did a picture of Mitchell Moses and Parafans buy your grand final tickets again, and that just has gone nuts. That's got a grand total of 37 likes. There's a lot of delusional Parafans out there.
More likes than you've got followers.
That's it. That
unbelievable.
means I've cracked the Instagram code.
Absolutely.
Speaking of cracks, there's a nice photo of Josh Morris getting through the defensive line of Melbourne there as well, and you can enjoy that in all its glory. You're at Instagram at ROBCOX, at Twitter, NRL tweet, and we will catch you next time. How about that?
Catch me outside. How about that? Pepsi.
Not the Footy Show. It's people's escape. It's people's relaxation. And we need to do everything in order to continue that great tradition of... Not the Footy Show.
Pepsi.